last weekend we talked about Duck Dynasty and Phil Robertson being suspended. Now he's back on the show. But set it up for everybody who doesn't know.
Well, of course, Phil Robertson, in a famous interview, now famous magazine interview, which has been really taken and extrapolated and stretched out of context, made some comments that many folks thought were highly controversial and insensitive to gay Americans. Sticking by his beliefs, well, A&E then, of course, yanked him, said,
right,
we're suspending you, taking you off the air, Phil Robertson. Well, of course, backlash. Twitter explodes. There's I Stand With Phil pops up on Twitter. A&E now overnight has reversed its course and back on the air now.
It seems by far the loudest voices came from those who believe, those who have faith and those who believe that he was speaking based on his faith and that he has a right to speak that way. Let's listen to what, actually, let's look at what Duck Dynasty, what A&E said about Duck Dynasty. They say it's not a show about one man's views. And this is, I think, a very important thing. And I think this sort of is a salve for a lot of folks who felt that his comments were sexist or racist and homophobic. It resonates with a large audience because it is a show about family, a family that America has come to love. And then
GLAAD's response, this is the, and here's the other side of it. They're, still, of course, still fired up about it. They say Phil Robertson should look African-American and gay people in the eyes and hear about the hurtful impact of praising Jim Crow laws and comparing gay people to terrorists. If dialogue with Phil is not part of the next steps, then A&E has chosen profits over African-American and gay people, especially its employees and viewers.
There are a lot of people who are incredibly offended by his comments. A lot of people who are fans of the show, that like the show and that love the family, that maybe some people ended up watching it because they thought it would be another Honey Boo Boo, but the family turned out to be, very likable.
And very relatable.
Very relatable, very appealing. And so this is the kind of thing that really turned a lot of people off. The question is, will they have the ratings that they did? Will they fizzle out? I mean, this is something that,
I think the ratings will go up. And, A&E...
Immediately or for... Will they be able to
see
sustain?
People never heard of it, too, right? People never heard of Duck Dynasty.
Are going to now watch.
But people are allowed to have opinions. You're allowed to have opinions. Sure. And I think it's important that A&E brought them back.
And this speaks to the bullying that was going on, right, with this sort of the Hollywood elite basically saying, that if you don't like this person's opinions, you know what? It's capitalism. You don't have to watch this person on television. If there's a certain show you don't like, you don't have to watch them. So it's capitalism at play. Let the American people vote with their with the remote controls.
The marketplace won again. If you don't like his comments,
then
don't watch the show.
If you don't like Howard Stern, turn the radio off.
But I'll tell you what, A&E, they suspended him, but then look what they did over Christmas. They had a marathon. All you see on A&E is Duck Dynasty. They used to throw in a little bit of storage wars and shipping wars.
Somebody
Every time I turn on A&E, it's Duck Dynasty. That's how popular it is.
So I'm saying this is a victory for Christianity and religious freedom. Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana, of course, where the show is filmed, tweeted this almost immediately. Today is a good day for the freedoms of speech and religious liberty. The left may control Hollywood, but they don't control the hearts and minds of a majority of Americans. And he's right. I mean, there are a number of Americans who believe this, and a number of articles popping up saying this should be a sign to those who have a certain faith in this country, who believe Phil Robertson's comments are truth to them. And media shouldn't be controlled by the West Coast and the East Coast. There's a huge swath of the population in the middle of this country that believe this.
Yeah. And everybody has an opinion. Isn't it funny how a reality show about some guys that invented a duck call 40 years ago, getting all sorts of people to respond, including politicians, and also with the Family Research Council, Tony Perkins, a guy you know very well, had this to say about the new ruling by A&E.
Obviously, this is a good day, good news coming to the fans, the millions of fans of Duck Dynasty. But also, I'd say it's good news for Christians out there who feel like they have had to suppress their faith, their belief in the Bible and its truth as it pertains to morality. This shows that if you stand up to these cultural bullies, they'll have to back down. There are some lessons to be learned here. I think there's some lessons to be learned from the cultural elite, from A&E and those types, that those folks in the red states are not just consumers of their products, but these are people who believe very deeply with moral truths. they're Christians who want to live out their faith, and so I think they have to realize they're not going to change what they believe in.
This was really quite a phenomenon.
Yes,
I mean, it went from being, talking about social issues to it really became political. Naturally, people jumped on it.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't look at emails and Facebook and Twitter without people seeing people from the left comparing it to Martin Bashir. Why did Martin Bashir have to leave MSNBC because of his horrific comments about Sarah Palin? I mean, it definitely got people talking, and I think that's I think that's an interesting thing that happens when you're talking about a show on A&E, which is essentially a reality show about a family.
Well,
The
marketplace
Robertson family said too. They're thrilled with the decision, of course, by A&E.
And they had a great discussion with A&E, and they went back and forth over the Christmas holidays. So we'll have much more on this coming up here on the show. Let us know your thoughts this morning. Friends at FoxNews.com. You can weigh in on Facebook as well. FF Weekend there on Facebook.
I was walking through Times Square, Clayton, on the way in today, and they're already setting up for the ball drop, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about going again. Remember the last time you and I did it?
We hosted it. It was like 12 degrees. It was horrific.
It was 1 degree. Look at it out there. It's ridiculous. But I hear it's going to be cold again.
Janice Dean is standing by. Janice, how is our New Year's Eve shaping up?
Cold. Not as cold as when you guys were hosting.
You remember that, right?
Oh,